So let's check out your music trivia just a little bit. See if you can fill in the last word here. So many times it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. So many times it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know that we actually have on board what it takes to change everything. As safety professionals, you guys, you men and women, take care of our most precious cargo day in and day out. And I know that you geek out a little bit on things like, how can we make that better? Harnesses, PPE, personal protection equipment, policies, procedures. How can we always dial it up? In my line of work, what I geek out on is how to help people crush it in their careers. How to help them finally find that strength to step up and lead. How to finally find that strength and that desire and that follow-through to create massive, positive, game-changing impact on your organizations and on your teams. So we all have our own way of geeking out. That's mine. So let me ask you a question. What is it that changes inside a person when they go from middle of the pack to top of the stack in their business or their career? Or when they go from yet another failed diet attempt to finally attaining and sustaining their ideal weight and the fitness level they really want? What is it that changes inside someone when they move from sitting around the house again alone to becoming a magnet for phenomenal, fulfilling relationships? What is that shift? The shift always happens on the inside before the creation of what we want occurs on the outside. That's what you and I are going to discover and work on in our time together today. Because when you can understand how to initiate that shift inside, on demand, whenever you want it, then you can become more masterful. You can have the experiences that you want to have. You can lead with more strength, more clarity, and have a lot more fun in your career in the process. It's designed to meet you where you are as well. Some in the room right now are already strong leaders, moving ahead, making a big impact. Others might be brand new at this leadership game. We're asking people younger and younger in their career to take on leadership roles. So whether you're already rocking and already on a great path and all you want to do is continue the momentum and get better and better and better, or if you're on shaky ground right now, maybe things have been difficult, maybe you're trying to find your way in this leadership game, then no matter what the case, this information is for you. The last couple of years for me have included a lot of endings and a lot of goodbyes. After 20 years of marriage, I found myself divorced from my wife. My best friend, Kenny, who lived right here in Houston, suddenly died. My brother, Ed, died as well. My mom, who's 95 years old, still living in Denver where I live, although physically here, mentally, she's really dealing with a lot of memory problems. And I've had to say a special kind of goodbye there. Not a goodbye to her physically, but a goodbye to the fun conversations we used to have, a goodbye to the stories we used to tell, a goodbye to the experiences we had. When my brother passed away, I inherited a really cool dog, gray and white, husky, who's now 13 years old, that my brother named Debo. So with my situation, I needed a dog kind of like I needed a hole in the head, I thought. But nonetheless, I was the one to take him. And one day, I was taking Debo out for a bit of a walk. And just a short time between my business phone calls. And we got down, it was one of those days in Denver where fall day, beautiful, blue sky, just a few wispy clouds, beautiful sunny sunshine, 72 degrees, just perfect. It was one of those days that just calls you to slow down, invites you to slow down. So my hurried way of doing things and my go-to strategy of work harder, do more, power through, especially in stressful times, something was calling me to spend just a little bit more time with Debo. So he looked up at me with those big blue eyes and said, "Come on, second dad, let's go to the park." I thought, what the heck, let's go to the park. So as we went out and walked in this beautiful day, the leaves were turning. They've turned yellow, they turned red, they were orange, the grass was still beautifully green. It was phenomenal. And halfway around the lake where we walk, there are a series of benches. I grabbed one of those benches and sat for a moment. Not my normal go-to during a work day, at least then. And I found myself looking across this beautiful lake, looking at the reflection of the trees, of the sky, of those few clouds in the water. And something inside me started to shift. Almost at the cellular level, I felt a dramatic shift taking place. My go-to, you see, when times get stressful or in times of loss, is just to double down. Maybe you can relate. Do more. Achieve more. Try to get it under control. And I found myself face to face with some strategies that I'd had my whole life that no longer served me. And I was called to make a change. So we walked back, and I was a different man. And I realized that these changes, as Warren shared earlier, sometimes happen through defining moments, significant events that force us almost to take on a new perspective, to look at our lives in a different way, to look at how we're leading, how we're showing up, our professional approach. Sometimes those things are thrust upon us. Sometimes you can choose them instead. In that moment, I made a choice. And as I got back, I wrote these words. Today, the worrying stopped. I stopped worrying about the future. I stopped worrying about my security. I stopped worrying about money and impact. I stopped worrying about everything. I stopped worrying about what other people thought of me. I stopped worrying about fitting in. I stopped worrying about missing out. I stopped worrying about what I could have and should have done. I stopped worrying in that moment and instead opened to receiving, and everything changed. Now I just joyfully do the work that I'm given. I don't know how many more days I have on this planet. None of us do. But what I do know, and what I discovered in that moment, is that I won't spend them frustrated, freaked out, disappointed, stressed out, bummed out. What a waste of this precious gift of life that would be. And yet, if you look at your own life, isn't there a fair amount of time that you're right there in that space, worried about things, concerned about your stature, your status, concerned about your health, your safety, concerned about your security? In that moment, I realized that I had put on myself a burden, just like a big heavy backpack that I'd carried my whole life, that was unnecessary. There was a different way. So that's how I geek out. I geek out on how can we get better? How can we have more fun in our business? How can we lead with more authority, more influence, more power, more grace? And that's what I want to share with you a little bit today. You see, right now, in every second of every day, you have important decisions that only you can make. You can play small, or you can live large. You can settle for okay, or you can decide to create something truly outstanding. You can shrink back, or you can attack with warrior-like precision, mentality, and skill. So when those big opportunities to step up, to lead more deeply, to lead more compassionately, more effectively appear, are you pulling back, procrastinating, or are you stepping into those with anticipation? We need you to be fully present as leaders, to be all in, to not be so worried about what happens next as what's happening right now. A lot of times I've worked with emerging leaders, and of course there's a lot of questions. Hey, listen, what I found out too is that even though emerging leaders might have more to learn, the very same skills, the very same concerns, the very same fears exist in people who have been leading for many, many years. I won't ask for a show of hands, but I bet if I did, a lot of hands would go up if I said, hey, do you doubt yourself? Do you wonder about your ability to lead? Are you doing a good enough job? Are you effective? So should someone else be doing this? And with that in mind, I want you to be thinking that what we say to ourselves, the language and the thoughts that we use in our own internal conversations have a huge amount to do with the results that we produce. I work with people one-on-one often, and there's so many times when people who have been in leadership roles for so long, they say to me, I can't lead. I'm not a good leader. I can't do this. Or someone who's brand new to the game, who wants to step up and be a leader, might say the same thing. Am I going to be good at this? How can I be as good as some of the people I know or hear about? So when we talk about, is that something that is a strength for you, leading as a strength, leading as a skill set, what is your own internal dialogue about that? Defining moments may have cast you into a leadership role, but have you truly stepped into it? I want to provide a few tools and techniques today that will allow you to be able to step into that leadership role in a bigger, deeper way, because we need that. We need you to be there. And I want you to be questioning yourself just a little bit about what are the stories I tell myself about me as a leader. I can't lead. I'm not a good leader. If only they knew how little I know, they'd laugh me out of here. If any of those thoughts are there, I want you to really think about this. When is the last time you really tested that theory about your capability as a leader? Instead of just buying into that language, kind of going through the motion, but not really stepping in. Success is an inside-out experience. The shifts on the inside are what always generate the changes that we want on the outside. And it's true, you can think about that because we all know people who have had very little opportunity, maybe little or no education, tough family life, broken homes, maybe physically in bad shape, who rise to the top and step into that role so beautifully. While others who may have had every opportunity, great education, everything else, end up falling apart when they're in that position. So let's talk about a couple of ways that we can up our own game. Green button. Perfect. So right now, in this moment, as we kick off the conference, I want you to be thinking about this, where you are in this moment, where your power is in today, in this moment, as opposed to what is going to happen in the future. Bringing your focus to right now, let's check in on yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, I couldn't be more capable, more highly energized, 1 being, I couldn't be probably any lower, okay? So the first point of these 3 is energy. So right now, where are you in terms of energy? How much energy do you have right now as you start your conference? as we start kicking this off, as you start getting your mind around what you're going to do in these next 2 days, what's your energy level 1 to 10? Just yell it out when you know it. 9? What else? Some 10s? Good. And who's at a 3? It's okay, because the goal here is not to be at a 10 all the time. That's a little bit of a high standard, right? But the goal is to be aware of where is my energy. Listen, one of the things that you can't delegate or leave to someone else to do is to lead, to be the energizing leader in your group. You just can't give that to someone else. And you might be more, introverted or more analytical and would rather just be kind of in your office doing your own thing as opposed to being in those group meetings. I know I can relate to that sometimes. But as a leader, it's time to be able to recognize that when you show up with energy, that's what generates energy in other people. So if you want more enthusiasm from your team, if you want more excitement, more passion, more energy, then think first, how much passion, energy, and excitement am I actually bringing to my team on a routine basis? When people go home at the end of the day, it's rarely the details of their core discipline or the nuts and bolts of their job that they might complain about if they're going to choose to complain to family or friends. It's almost always the interpersonal side. Why won't my team step up? How come I can't get more buy-in from these other teams? What's up with these people over here? Well, listen, when that's the case, look inside first and say, you know what? The parts I do control sit right in here. Right? I see some nodding heads. So where are you in terms of energy, first and foremost? Secondly, where are you in terms of focus? Because you can have all the energy in the world, but if you're not focused, you're kind of like a ping pong ball bouncing around the room, going everywhere, scattered, kind of hard to keep tied in. But when you combine energy and focus, then you've really got the foundation for a great next piece of your day. So where are you right now, if you think about this for yourself, 1 to 10 in terms of your level of focus right now? So yell it out. 5, good. What else? Okay, good. So what's it take then, right, to dial that from 5, 6 up to an 8, a 9, higher? Not a 10 necessarily, but it'd be great if we can get there too. The goal here is to be able to take inventory on where you are now, routinely and consistently throughout your day, so that you're now able to bring that clarity to the team as well. The last one, and what I've learned in my life to be the most important, is your level of positive expectation. So energy, focus, positive expectation. Positive expectation is that sense that this next segment of your day is going to be powerful for you, that you're going to be able to show up and create something amazing in that next meeting. So where are you now in terms of positive expectation that this next segment of your day, this morning, is going to be powerful for you? Please yell it out. Okay? Again, the point is just recognizing where you are, an awareness of where you are in the moment, so that you can then say, if I chose, what would I have to shift or change to be able to move that up to be a higher number? This is the part you can't delegate. And what I've found in working with teams, quite often people will embrace this idea and start each team meeting with this particular exercise. Hey, where are we in terms of energy? Honestly, and you need that honesty, right? Honestly. Because what if somebody were to say, if you were in your team meeting, you said, okay, let's just do a quick check-in. How are we doing? Let's do a level set. Where are you in terms of energy? And they said, I'm at a 1. Well, you know what? We don't know what might be causing that 1. Maybe they had a really, really tough night, tough evening. Maybe they had a really hard time in their personal life. Or they didn't sleep, or whatever. Wouldn't you want to know what was going on for that person as their teammate, to understand what's driving that low energy for them, so you can help them? So energy, focus, positive expectation as a way of checking in to see where you are in any given moment of your day. The next one is to be aware of your language. So speak only what you want to experience. Now that seems like a pretty darn high standard to me. I don't know about you. But if you think about it, what's he saying? What's Matthew saying? Speak only what I want to experience? How's that going to work? Well, here's how it works. Your words are absolutely the precursor to your experience. So neuroscience is showing us more and more each day that our words, the things we actually say, inform our conscious mind. And our conscious mind is what is informing our subconscious mind, where arguably most of our power to actually create what we want resides. Let me give you an example. If you are saying to yourself, you know what, I don't know, I'm probably not going to get that job. Or, I know I really want to push this initiative, but, they're probably not going to listen to me. I don't have direct authority over them. I need them to buy in. But I don't think they're going to buy in. Right? Those kind of words, what do you think might be the idea that's popping into your head, and what is going to be created in your minds about your possibility of succeeding there? It's going to be low. But instead, if you say, you know what, I don't know how yet, but here's what I do know. I'm going to give everything I've got to make sure that I get the buy-in that we need to move this initiative forward. I've had the blessing of working in the oil and gas business as Kenny said earlier, in a couple different ways. In the E&P side as well as a drilling contractor. And what I know about the safety professionals I've worked with is there's typically one commonality, and that is, you know what? It's not something where you can say, you have to do what I'm presenting here. It's much more a game of being able to build influence and get buy-in. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but that's typically what I've seen. And so finding that way, how do I step into that? And it's easy for us to decide, since I don't control it, I guess I'll just take what I can get. Well, instead, you have the opportunity to be thinking about how I show up is going to increase my odds of being able to get that buy-in. People want to work with other people who are forward-thinking and who are showing up with an optimism about what they're doing. You guys have the most important job in the business, to be able to keep our people safe and healthy. And I just know that it's sometimes a struggle with that passion that each of you have to be able to get the kind of influence and kind of make the impact that you really want to make. So to get a little bit more odds on that happening, this idea of speak only what you want to experience can come to play. When you step into a meeting, talk about what it is that you are committed to make happen. It becomes contagious. People start to want to know more about what are you thinking. How are we going to get there together? I worked with a woman by the name of Marie that sought me out one time to try to help her get the next promotion that she wanted to get. And she actually was with an E&P company. And as we started our work, I asked her just to describe, what was going on for her. Just describe the situation, bring me up to speed. And I was looking for two things. One, to get a lay of the land, what was actually going on for her in the company and those kinds of things. The other thing I was looking for was, what did she choose to describe to me? What did she choose to focus on in her initial comments? What was her perspective on what was going to possibly happen for her? So as she started, she said, you know what? I'm probably not going to get this job. I think everybody thinks I'm kind of topped out in my position here. I don't really have the political pull. It's probably not going to happen. Now think about those words, and think about this idea that if your words are informing your brain about what's possible, where actually all of our ability to attract what we want resides, how is that working for her? When she's in a place where she's walking into something with doubt about it even being able to work. So we went right to work on that. And I said, look, let's start the day differently and write a goal out every day that states exactly what it is that you want to have, what it is that you want to experience. And she did so. So she started writing out her goal every day, and it was something to the effect of, you know what, I'm going to get this opportunity. I can't wait to contribute at this higher level. People accept me, people want me, people are ready to have me on their team. And she focused and shifted her focus from, it's probably not going to happen, to, it is going to happen. And eventually she got that promotion. But more than that, what's most important is she found a new way to have more fun in this personal interaction part of her business and her career. That's where she really had the biggest gain. So if you would, I'd like to ask you to take a second, stand up if you would please, to kind of get our energy going here for just a moment. And I want you to think about, as you're standing, where is it for you that you might be playing just a little bit smaller than you know you're capable of? Where is it for you that you have an opportunity to shift the way you're looking at things to make a bigger, more positive, more massive, more game-changing impact in your organizations and on your teams and for those people that you serve? And right now, that was interesting. Okay, so we're going to do a three-step quick process here just to kind of get things going a little bit. First and foremost, I want you to realize that when you want to shift your state in any moment, you can change your state and therefore your mental attitude like that by changing any one of the following three things. Okay? The first is your physiology. So if you want a different result, change your physiology. We just did that, didn't we, by standing up. Do you feel any different, yes or no? A little bit, right? So when you're standing up, it's just different energy. Other components of physiology are, putting a strong posture in place. Shoulders back, chin a little bit above, horizontal. Breathing, good thing to do. Yeah. So physiology, you can change your state, your mental, emotional, physical state in any moment just by changing your physiology, okay? And like Marie, the second thing is to be aware of what you're choosing to focus on and believe about yourself. To focus on, what am I focusing on, and what am I believing about myself? Like Marie, she started off with kind of tough thoughts about herself. Probably not going to work. Probably not going to get it, not going to make it happen. Probably can't make the influence I want to make. To boom, I'm going to make this happen. It will happen. I can do this. People are going to support me on this. So what we choose, a very important word here, what you choose to focus on and believe about yourself. We have plenty of stories in our heads, each of us in this room, I think 1,100 of us here, plenty of stories in each of our heads about times when it didn't go well. We have a tendency to focus sometimes on those times when we didn't pull through, when we didn't succeed, when we didn't, deliver. It's part of our ego brain that's constantly kind of throwing these thoughts out to us to keep us, frankly, playing a smaller game than we're capable of. So we need the other side of that. We need to have some powerful ways to quickly recall times in our lives when we nailed it, to offset those many tapes that are going to run automatically anyway. Okay? So think of a time right now. If you're comfortable, allow your eyes to softly close. You don't have to, but if you do, just reflect across the span of your life. Maybe when you were a kid, maybe in high school, sometime in your life, maybe it was yesterday, when there's something that you did that you felt so proud of. And if pride's not a good word for you, that's okay, pick another one. Where you felt so accomplished or so connected. A time when you just felt so happy about the way things turned out. If you would, just raise your hand when you have one. I'm not going to call on you, but just raise your hand when you have one. A time that you can reflect on. So lock that in right now. And keep that in your arsenal so that when you have those moments when you're in self-doubt, you can reflect back on that time. Maybe it's that time when she said yes. Maybe it's a time when you walked across the stage and picked up your diploma. Whatever those times are for you that made you feel so great, so connected, so protected, so happy about things, so proud. Have that in your arsenal. You can change your mental and emotional state in that second way. First, number one was physiology. Number two is on what you're choosing to focus on and believe about yourself. Stack one on top of the other until you have enough on that stack to be able to overcome the negative self-talk you're going to have. okay? And the third then is in your language. By getting clear that by speaking only what you want to experience, that's what's going to trigger the attractive component of your brain. So getting words that you can rely back on. Maybe it's a way of writing out your goal every day. Maybe it's just a quick little saying. For some, it's going to be something out of the Bible. For some, it'll be something out of some other reading that they have. But something that you can tie back to. So you have language to throw in place, because when you change your physiology, when you shift what you're focusing on and believing about yourself, and when you change your language, you can massively change your state. And a massively changed state is what creates the kind of results that you want, I bet, to have as you step into more and more leadership. Is this making sense, yes or no? Good, good. Okay, so have a seat if you like. Think about this. We're in the football season, a lot of football going on. Let's say you're down to the last play of the game, American football, last play of the game. You've got to score. If you score, you win. It's a big game. And if you don't score, you lose. You got one shot. Time's running out. Okay? You get back to the huddle. It's got to be a pass play because you got too many yards to run it. You got to be a pass play. You get back to the huddle. You have two receivers pop in. One says, "Hey, man, okay, well, throw it to me if you want to, but, last week I dropped it. And I don't know, man. Okay, whatever. I'll be there. Throw it to me if you want to." The other guy comes in and he says, "Hey, throw me the ball. I've caught it before. I'll catch it again. Toss it to me. We'll win this thing." Who are you going to throw the ball to? Right? You would be naturally driven to throw the ball, I hope, to the person who said, "I've got this. I'll make it happen. I'll do it. I've got what it takes." Right? So what's the difference? Why would that be? What's the reason for that? Frankly, it's mindset. One person's got a mindset that's supporting the outcome that he wants to have. The other person has a mindset that's probably not going to give him the results he wants. So my invitation here is to be conscious of your language at a deeper level. What is it that you want to share? Now, speak only what you want to experience is a very, very high standard, as I mentioned earlier. So there is a carve-out. And that carve-out is we all need to vent, right? We all need to vent. So when you're venting and you're just getting it out, give yourself that permission to say whatever's top of mind, get it out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But when you're back in front of your group, when you're looking to make the impact you want to make in your business, speak what you want to experience. It looks like this. When we move forward in this direction, we're going to get the result we're looking for. We have an opportunity here to up our game in terms of safety and health. When we have this opportunity and we grab it, we're going to have the impact we want to make. As opposed to walking into the same meeting, and maybe you can relate to this, and saying, "You know what, we should do this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get the buy-in. I don't think you guys are going to probably actually do what I want you to do." Speak what you want. It's contagious. When you step into that and you own your language, it becomes contagious, and people want to be around that. They want to bring you into deals. They want to follow your initiatives. They want to make sure you're getting the goals achieved that you want to achieve. So when you only have influence, not authority, in order to make things happen, it's mostly going to be about how you show up that's going to actually turn the tide. Yes, the data is important. Yes, the initiatives are important. But people follow people. Leaders lead. You have the opportunity to make a bigger impact on your company by deciding first that the shift is on the inside. To step into that is what's going to drive the behavior and the outcome I want on the outside. All right. The next thing I wanted to share, clicker, sorry. Okay. One last thing that I want to share on this topic is that we train, many of you in the room are trainers or you have been trainers. So you're used to the model. And frankly, we train people how to treat us. So often, I know in my life and before I started to understand this work and in other work that I do with people, I understand that we sometimes feel like we're kind of on the victim side of things. I just don't get the respect I'm looking for. People aren't listening to me. Why aren't they following through on what they say they're going to do? How's this happening? And just like before, I want to give you the image of saying, look, first hold up the mirror. How are you contributing to that? How are you contributing to the lack of results that you're getting from other people that you're looking to get buy-in from? We train people how to treat us. How's that look? By what we tolerate, by what we won't tolerate, by what we stand for, and what we won't stand for. We train people how to treat us by allowing things to be vague and not standing up and saying, I don't think I understand exactly what you're committing to. And if you find that this is resonating, it's like, you know what? This might be true. By the way, this is also very true at home as well with kids. We train everybody in our life how to treat us. So at work, when you find that frustration of why aren't things happening the way I want them, hold the mirror up and say, wait, what is my role and how can I change it? Well, if you've been in a company for a long time and you've got a bit of a reputation that is one where people are not listening to you, and you want to change that, you want to shift it, first off, those three components we talked about before, think about your physiology, think about what you're focusing on and choosing to believe about yourself, think about your language, and then think about how you can renegotiate that relationship. Reestablish something that I call upfront agreements about how you're going to interact with each other. Ownership is really the key to being able to be a strong leader. And when you're frustrated, disappointed, freaked out, stressed out, why isn't it happening? I urge you to be thinking, write down, make a few notes. How have I trained that person or that team or this company to treat me in a way that's not allowing me to really contribute in the way I'd like to? We train people how to treat us. If you want respect, funny enough, let go of the need for respect. If you want love, let go of the need for love. Not let go of having that, wanting that in your life, but the need for it. So when you want more respect, more regard from other people, let loose of that particular need. When we let go, it allows the other person to meet us in the middle. I always like this story about two kids in high school, a boy and a girl. Imagine this. Go back to your high school days for a moment, and imagine. I knew a guy in school who really wanted to get this girl to go out with him. So he was always, this is her, this is him. He was always filling the gap. He was sending her flowers. He was doing all kinds of nice things, and it just wasn't resonating, wasn't happening. She was never going out with him. And he kept doing more and more. Hey, come on, let's go out. And what I'm getting at is he's filling the gap. He took up all the space between the two of them consistently, more and more. Please, let's go out. What do you think happened as far as that girl's desire to go out with them? Any ideas? Not much. Because as long as that pursuit was that heavy and he took up all the space, all the air in between, she wasn't interested. But imagine now, finally this guy got tired of that. He finally threw in the towel and he started to pull back. Can you imagine what happened? Well, when that space was left there, she started thinking, where is that guy? What happened? How come he's not trying to find me anymore? And she started to come his direction and ultimately went out with him. When you have this space and you're constantly filling it because you're so passionate about what you do, you're driving to make it happen, just make sure you're leaving some room for the other person in the equation to meet you halfway. When you are thinking about your limitations, you're owning that. You're owning that story. Let go of the story that limits you. Let go of the story that limits you. You have an opportunity to master your mind, to create that inside-out experience before your mind, and in this case I mean your ego mind, before your mind becomes the master of you. So when you want to have that opportunity to step in, to lead with more vigor, to be more effective, to have more fun in the process, stay in the present moment. Don't worry so much about what is going to happen down the road. Stand in front of your teams with the compassion and the love that you want to have returned. Let go of the story that limits you. So as safety professionals, I know, again, you geek out on how to get things done, how to make sure people are safe. How can we take the next thing, build the next process? I encourage you to geek out now, too, on how to become a stronger team player, a stronger leader, someone with more passion, but also who can also get the results because of the way you're thinking back. Wait a minute. What changes inside a person when they go from middle of the pack to top of the stack is in here. What changes when they go from a challenging fitness situation to attaining and sustaining their great health happens in here first. What happens at work when we go from being able to not really make the impact we want to being able to now be dynamic and involved and included in those kind of conversations, a bigger seat at the table happens in here first. So that's my encouragement to you. If you want more impact, don't strive to fit in. Fitting in is boring for people who want to make a big difference. Commit to stand out. It's not always easy to be that person to stand out. It's much easier. There's much more pull to fit in. You know, your companies, the environment, your own mental thoughts will keep you oftentimes in a space of thinking, now I'll just kind of go along on this path even though it's not working. We need you to stand out, to bring your strengths, to bring your uniqueness, to have more fun. Like Marie, to have the opportunity to change the outcome that she had by changing her internal dialogue first. Stepping up, having fun, finding that place to use your language as a support vehicle for you. You're warriors. Brave, bold, courageous, fighting for what it is that's most important. In your case, the safety and health of the people on the teams. Huge mission. What are you being called right now to shift? Where is the opportunity for you to step more deeply into your authentic leadership? It's not always easy. Standing out's not always easy, but it's much more gratifying. So help each other, support each other. It'll be difficult sometimes, but at the end of the day, you've got this. Thank you very much.